Hey everyone, it is Bridget here from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, wishing you a very wonderful day wherever you are currently in the world. Whatever you are doing, I hope that you are safe and we all hope that you are well. Thank you for joining today's class. It's been a long time in the making and it's been an exciting one for me, because if you have even downloaded one of my recipes, if you've even watched one of my videos, you might be aware that I have a bit of a thing for cheese. In fact, if I could just live on cheese alone and be healthy and survive, I kind of would. You know, if you think about it, France has over like 300 different types of cheese in one country, classified cheeses. So, I wouldn't be bored, I reckon, if I just lived on cheese. So I thought what I would do for you guys, and it's a little bit of cabin fever. It's so long into our quarantine now, I've actually lost track of days. It gets to that point where at first you're like, oh, it's day number 7 and I'm doing so well, and then you're like, it's day number 12 and I'm doing amazing. And then when it gets past around about 21, 24, I don't know, days into the 20s, you're just like, I'm still in my house. That's all there is about it. So definitely a bit of cabin fever has set in. Hi to Ngāwai, he's joining us. Kia ora. Bit of cabin fever has definitely set in. And what better thing to do to kind of take control of your cabin fever is start to cook foods that you wouldn't normally do, because you just pop off down to the supermarket. I'll just go to the supermarket and I'll just buy that. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that today. And kia ora to Coral joining us from Rarotonga. Coral, I have to say, I was channeling you today and listening to lots and lots of beautiful sounds from your island today. I was literally doing as many Rarotonga Cook Island bands as possible this morning as I was setting up for our class. I think I was thinking of you, Coral. I knew you'd love this class. So today's class is all about cheese. And hi to Mema joining us. And it's sunny in Perth. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're here. So yes, cheese class today. We're doing a fresh cheese, so a fresh curd. And one of the things when it comes to cheese making is it is not as hard as you may have essentially thought it was. It's not as hard as you thought it was. It requires only a very few ingredients, and the cheese that I'm making today for you guys is actually going to be rennet free. So rennet is what gives, and we're making mozzarella, rennet is what gives it that really big stretch that you have in mozzarella. I'm not using rennet today because rennet's really hard to find. Now rennet, for anyone who's unsure what rennet is, it is part of the lining of a little baby cow, a calf. It's part of the lining of a calf belly. And it helps to give cheese makers or cheese making a bit of a stretch. And it has to do with texture. Rennet is especially hard to find, even more so now, because we are all in quarantine. So the cheese that I'm making for you guys today, for us today, is all about us. We're making a soft, mellow curd mozzarella. We're using 3 ingredients, and none of those ingredients are rennet. You could literally, chances are, these 3 ingredients are currently in your house. That's how easy this cheese is to make. So, we're going to get into the recipe. I'm going to bring you on down here. And by the way, this recipe, in case you did not realize, it is not dairy free. I'm using milk. But let me talk about that a little bit more in depth, because there are different types of milks, as you guys know, that we can use. So I'm using a cow's milk, but there are different types of milks that you can use. So let's get into that. And trust me now when I say this to you, is that this class here is only number 1 in our cheese making classes. I've got so many more cheeses that I want to make with you guys, including a vegan cheese for all our non-dairy eaters and all our vegan and vegetarian friends. We are also going to do a ricotta as well. But today we're doing mozzarella, a soft curd mozzarella. And you guys all know what mozzarella is. It's gorgeous. We normally put it on our pizzas. It has that wonderful stretchability as well, which comes from the rennet. So we're not going to get quite as much stretch from our cheese, but we're going to get a lovely, lovely, soft, mounded curd cheese. I'm super excited because cheese is my everything. So come on down to my bench. I'll show you only those 3 ingredients. That's all we need. We just need 3 ingredients. It's pretty crazy. Come on down to my bench. I want to show you what I've already got going on right here, and you're coming right, like literally here. I'm cooking here. I'm not even cooking over there. I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. Right, okay. In my pot right now, I have my pot on. Well, I'm putting it back on. I have my pot set at medium heat, and in my pot right now, look, I've got a really gorgeous pot. This is actually a really gorgeous pot. It's a heavy bottom pot, and in my pot right now I have 2 liters of the best quality milk that I can buy. So I've chosen a organic milk that I get from Aldi, which is fantastic. What you want to do when it comes to making mozzarella is you want to choose the best quality milk that you can buy. Ideally you are choosing one that is full cream. So I'm not talking about having like a light milk or a skim milk. Forget about that business. When it comes to cheese making, you need to make sure that your milk has a decent amount of fat in it. So I have an organic milk, which is really nice. It is also full fat as well, so full cream milk, and I have 2 liters currently in there, which is around about 2 pints for our non-metric friends, 2 pints of milk, and I'm heating this very, very gently on my cooktop. I don't want to heat it too much. So this is the first thing you do. You take 2 liters of milk and you pour it into a heavy bottomed pot. Not if your pot that you're using, you normally have food stick to it, I would avoid that pot and maybe even get like a wok if you've got one, because you want it to very gently heat. You can see how this is only very gently on. Look, I can do that with my cooktop without burning my hands, right, on my pot. So I'm very, very gently starting to heat the milk. So now that you know that it's really important what type of milk you have, the next thing you need to be aware of is what is the temperature going on here within the milk. This is the other second, apart from this, everything else is easy, trust me. This is the most important thing. Make sure your milk's of a good quality. And the second thing is make sure that the temperature is correct. We don't want to heat it too much and we don't want to heat it too little. So I've actually got a metal meat thermometer here, which I'm going to put in. And the temperature that I'm looking for on my milk, to know that my milk is perfect for the next step, the temperature I'm looking for is 50 degrees Celsius, which is not that hot really, if you think about it, especially if you live in Australia. 50 degrees Celsius is not that hot at all. And I'm using my metal thermometer just to check with that temperature constantly. But if you do not have one of these, do not fear. There is another way that you can test to whether your milk is ready to add the next step. And the other way that you can test whether your milk is ready is by putting your finger, clean of course, scrupulously clean finger, into the milk. And that milk should be not quite bearable, like you put your finger in and you want to instantly take it out because it's a little bit hot. Right now, my milk feels like a warm bath. And the reason why it feels like a warm bath, I put my thermometer in it, I can tell you that it's currently sitting on 31 degrees. So it's not that hot at all. It's not even blood temperature right now. So I'm just going to gently turn up the temperature. This requires you to be present. You guys know I always talk about being present when it comes to cooking. This is one of those recipes where it definitely does pay if you are present, because you need to keep an eye on the temperature. Just for this moment here, it only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to be here for 2 hours. It's 15 minutes. So you just need to keep an eye on the temperature. Remember, if you don't have one of these, then the other way is one of these, which everyone's got one of those, and you just put it in. Remember, what you're looking for temperature-wise is that the milk here is, right now, already I can feel the warmth coming through. The warmth is definitely here, but it's still comfortable. Like I can put my whole body in there and have a bath. What you're looking for, if you do not have a metal thermometer, a probe, what you're looking for is that to become just a little bit uncomfortable. So you definitely want to feel like you want to take your finger out. I'm going to go back to our thermometer. By the way, I bought this on eBay. It cost about $5, like seriously. So cheap to buy. Make sure that if you buy one on eBay, make sure you can do centigrade and Fahrenheit. You don't want one that just does Fahrenheit, because that just wouldn't work. Because, yeah. So you want one that does centigrade and Fahrenheit, which mine does. We're currently reading, and the temperature I'm looking for, remember, is 50 degrees. I've just gone up another notch. Now, if your pot, another little trick for you guys. If you think that your pot may not be as good quality as mine, just check that pot out. It is gorgeous. As far as pots go, this is a gorgeous pot. Trust me, there are gorgeous pots and not so gorgeous. If you think your pot is not so gorgeous and it may not be as thick, it may not be able to distribute the heat as evenly, use one of these. This is where your plastic spatula comes in, and you just want to gently begin to move the milk around. All I'm trying to do right now is prevent the milk from sticking or catching on one part of the pot if my pot is not evenly distributing the heat. I mean, I'm pretty confident that my particular pot is, but if you think yours may not be a great pot, may not be a gorgeous pot, then this is the time where you just want to grab up your plastic spatula and just move the milk around. That's going to prevent forming a skin on the base of the pot, which is really, really important because we don't want it to move, we don't want it to set in one part. So I'm going to go back to my thermometer, see what's happening. You want to stick as much as the metal probe into the milk as possible. I know I'm spending some time doing this, but this is literally the most important step, is that your temperature is correct. And not only is your temperature correct, we're sitting at currently, oh, I think we're a bit higher than that. We're 40 degrees, which is good. Oh, actually we're 42, we jumped really quickly. We're 42 and a half, oh, we're 44. Do you see how fast it moves? This is why you can't walk away. You actually have to be present. We're currently sitting on 45 degrees. It's like the final countdown, right? It's like Starship in the final countdown. So you don't want to walk away because it can quickly move. And already, my milk is telling me that we are at a temperature that is great for mozzarella making. So 50 degrees, remember that, Celsius. I'm going to do a finger test for anyone who doesn't have a metal thermometer. Put it in. You know what? That's a little bit just slightly uncomfortable. I'm turning that off. That's what we need. The next ingredient here in my little pot is 120 mils of white vinegar. I'm not using apple cider, I'm using white vinegar. The vinegar goes on, we give it a quick stir, and then our lid goes on. If you don't have a lid for your pot, just put some foil over the top of it. Just like that, put some foil over. So what's happening right now that we've added that white vinegar, and I did say you don't have to waste your apple cider vinegar on this. You just want distilled vinegar. White vinegar is really, really good for cheese making, by the way. Just pure white vinegar. You can buy like 5 liters for a couple of dollars. It's pretty cheap stuff, and you can save your beautiful apple cider vinegar for other things. So what's happening right now that I've got the vinegar in there, and I've got the lid on the pot. The lid is keeping in the heat. I've turned this off, by the way. Remember, this is off. I turned it off as soon as I got to temperature. And what's happening right now with the vinegar in there is the milk is beginning to curdle, which is what you want. It's beginning to separate, and you're getting what is known as curds and whey. For anyone who remembers the old nursery tale, Little Miss Muffet, right? What does she do? She sat on her tuffet eating, what did she eat? She ate curds and whey. What you are creating right now is curds and whey. You are separating the solids from the milk from the liquid. This is a really important step when it comes to soft curd cheese making. Now we have a question. Yes, Mahi?
Cheryl Masters asks, could we put a little cream in it to fatten up the milk?
Cheryl, there's no real need to put any cream in there to fatten up the milk, provided you use a full cream milk. If you are using a light milk, definitely. I can't give you the quantities though. Let's say if you had 2 liters of light milk, you might put in, 180 mils of light milk and 20 mils of cream. But I can't be exactly sure. It's probably better if you just go for a normal milk that hasn't had the fat taken out of it. I mean, I never buy, and this is for family, because families still have milk in their teas and stuff. I never buy light milk, ever, ever, ever. I buy full fat milk because it's such a wonderful experience, but also that little bit of fat that's taken out of it is not necessary, because don't forget guys, fat is really important in our diet. We need a bit of fat to help those fat soluble nutrients be absorbed into our body. So I never, ever, ever buy light milk. Ever. I only ever buy full fat. I don't drink it myself because I'm lactose intolerant. And here's another really good point. If you are lactose intolerant, like I am, and you're wondering how can I make this cheese and still not be all gassy, you can use lactose-free milk. A really good quality lactose-free milk, and do exactly the same ingredients is what we're doing here, which is super exciting for anyone who's lactose free. So it's been a couple of minutes. That's all you need with the lid on. Come back down here. A couple of minutes with the lid on here. You can see the steam as it's come up and it's hit the lid, which is perfect. We still haven't got much heat going on there. But what is actually happening? Can you guys see what's happening in there? So what will happen now, as I was talking about little Miss Martha, remember she sat on her tuffet eating her curds and whey. There's no spiders in the story though, by the way, there's no spiders. But what we have created with that bit of vinegar going into the milk, if we have created curds and whey. Crazy, right? I bet you never thought you'd ever do that before in your life. Let's now separate the curd because the vinegar did it for us. I'm just going to stir it gently and you guys can already see, right, how it's completely different. So what we're going to do now, and this is really important, is that you need to have one of these. You guys need to have one of these, a little sieve like this, because what we need to do is we need to separate the curds from the whey, because we're going to use the curds, we are not going to use the whey. Well, we're going to keep it for something else, but for cheese making, we don't need curds. So I'm going to use another little strainer. You could just use a slotted spoon if you don't have another strainer, and then just put that into there. So what we have there is that is the curds, and what's dripping out, that is the whey. So we are very easily, we have now made curds and whey. I know, right? It is nuts and so easy to do. No stirring required. All that is required is for you to add that vinegar, give it a bit of time, and then you're going to be naturally separating the curds from the whey. And if you just look at that, you can kind of see the milk solids as it's happening. And that's why I love cheese making, because it's a very hands-on process. And you can see the development as you're working everything along. It doesn't take long to see what's happening. So right now, I've got a really good sort of a soft curd going in there. This is why this is so important. Back to my spatula. I'm just going to gently begin to remove the whey from the curd with my spatula. See it dripping out? That's what you want to do. I'm just pressing it. Pressing the curd, and as I'm pressing the curd, I'm removing that whey. Now don't think we're going to waste the whey. I'm going to let you guys know later on what you can actually do with that whey, and there is a million one, well, not quite a million, but you know, lots and lots of ways that you can use that whey, as well as have this amazing soft curd that we've now created. So as I'm pushing it down, I'm removing the whey, removing the liquid, and I'm left with this wonderful soft curd. But don't think we're done here. That's why this strainer is so great, because I can put it on the edge of the pot and then I can continue to strain the whey through, or strain the liquid through, because there's still quite a bit of whey in there, and I want as much as possible because that's going to give us a lovely big cheese. And I think one of the really important things about cheese making is what we're doing here is you guys get to see why cheese is so expensive. It's because a lot of milk is required to make quite a small amount of cheese. So it's one of those, you know, one of those things that requires a lot of product. Like remember, this was 2 liters of milk that we used, and we only may get like a 400, 300 gram ball of mozzarella once we're finished, and that's why cheese is so expensive. So keep on kind of squishing it down. Keep on doing that. And what we've done, I know it doesn't look like much because it really isn't that much, is we have started to create this solid cheese. Well, this thicker cheese. So you really want to push the liquid out of there. And the more that you use your spatula and you push down, is what will happen is you will start to develop this ball of mozzarella. And it's really, really soft. Do not get me wrong, it's extremely soft what's happening here. Really, really soft. But what you have now achieved is this wonderful soft ball of cheese. And all you need to do now is to allow it to drain here. You can still go back in. If you've got quite a lot of curd still left in your whey, there's nothing stopping you from doing exactly what I was doing with that ball Remember, I'm just going through and pushing out the whey. Sometimes it takes a little bit more effort, other times not, and it all depends on the type of milk that you use as well. Like I'm using quite a, like I said, I'm using an organic milk, and I'm going to show you guys the after effect of what happened when I had this product here. I'm just going to push that through, keeping the whey. We're just folding and pressing the cheese to get that wonderful ball action happening there. So what's going to happen after you've done this for a little bit, it only takes a couple of minutes to actually get the whey out of the cheese, oh sorry, get the whey out of the curd, that soft curd. And what you're going to end up with, I'll show you, I've got mine sitting here, is what you're going to end up with after letting that set for a while, is you're going to end up with this ball of cheese. Oh, get rid of that. Where's that? Looking like this. I'm going to show you guys. You're going to end up with this. When you continue to push the whey out of the curd, you're going to end up with this wonderful little ball of mozzarella. So once you get to this part, after you've pushed it, what you then need to do is coming back down to your whey there, is you need to drop that ball of mozzarella back into your whey. Now this is a really important step as well. What I'm doing here right now is I'm just heating up the ball just a little bit, which is really important. I'm also going to add some salt. Just a couple of big pinches of salt goes into the water there. And then just using my little strainer there, I'm going to run that ball over the cheese, and that salt that I added to it is going to help to flavor our mozzarella for a start. It's going to help to flavor it and develop it. And when your cheese is a little bit warm, you then have the ability to start to form it more into a ball. So clean hands are definitely required here. And as you are moving your cheese around, what is now developing is that wonderful mozzarella. Now it's never going to be, as I was saying before, this is never going to be as sticky as a mozzarella that has rennet, which you're able to stretch like that. This is more of the soft curd mozzarella. So what you need to do is forget about that stickiness and think about forming this wonderful ball, and just keep on dropping it into that warm whey, running the liquid over the top of it, bringing it up, draining it, and you will continue to create this wonderful, wonderful ball of mozzarella. Yes, I have another question.
Another ask, could you use muslin cloth to separate the curd?
Yes, you can use muslin cloth to separate the curd if you want to, 100%, and then you can draw the muslin cloth up together to make that wonderful ball of mozzarella as well. So once you have your cheese at this stage here, which is this wonderful soft ball of mozzarella, remember, this is 2 liters of cheese. That's what you end up with, right? So that's why cheese is so expensive. It takes a lot of milk to make quite a small portion, but we still have this whey, don't forget as well, and I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. So once you're at this point now, some people suggest that you take that ball of warm mozzarella and you drop it into an ice bath. I don't think that's a great idea. The reason I don't think that's a great idea is because when you drop it into water, you lose the flavor. So I would suggest to anyone who's watching this is that rather than dropping it into an ice bath to cool, just allow that ball of mozzarella that you've created to just soak back in the whey. So I've just put it back in there, and you can leave that to soak until it comes up to room temperature. So the whey is going to cool and the cheese is going to cool, and as it does that, remember there's no heat going on, as it does that, the flavor continues to intensify from the whey that we have in there, and also from that bit of salt that we dropped in there. So once you've gotten to a point where this has come to room temperature, you need to go back in with your strainer, discover where your cheese ball is, drain it, drain all the liquid off as you can, and you will literally have a hard ball of cheese, just like this. Drain it off, and then wrap it in plastic wrap, and you can store that in the fridge. Remember, it's fresh cheese, so you need to eat that within about 5 to 6 days maximum. You have your own block of mozzarella just like that, which is fantastic. Now, what can you do with this in here? Because this is still good. There's nothing wrong with this. I would suggest that you strain this liquid here. Take out all the curds or the cheesy curdy bits, strain it. Chances are, depending on what type of milk you use, you may find that this actually liquid becomes quite clear. My one's quite cloudy because of the type of milk I've used, but you could find that you get a really clear liquid happening. So when you have a really clear liquid, you can strain it, you can cool it, and you can leave it in the fridge. Now what can you do with that whey? There's a couple of different things that you can do with the whey, which is cool because there's a lot of protein packed in that whey. Don't forget, there's not only a lot of protein, but there is also vitamins and minerals from the milk. You don't want to waste it. We don't want to waste anything. So with the whey, you can cool it, you can keep it and store it in the fridge, and you can use it in the place of buttermilk. So let's say you've got a pancake recipe that requires buttermilk, just use the whey. Maybe you want to make a muffin recipe that requires milk, use the whey. It could be in a bread recipe, it could be in a waffle recipe. It's also really, really good to feed to plants as well. If you want to pour a little bit of your whey into the soil of your plants, really, really beneficial, would you believe, in your plants. Some people even use it to ferment vegetables. It's called a lactoferment. So it also works as a preservative as well. So definitely do not throw away your whey. Keep your whey. And then once your cheese is cool, your mozzarella is cool, you can slice it like a really beautiful soft curd cheese. It tastes phenomenal. Now imagine this on my crusty bread bowl, my crusty bread toasted with a little bit of fresh mozzarella, maybe a slice of a gorgeous heirloom tomato, maybe a basil leaf, maybe you've made some pesto. Oh my God, you have the most amazing lunch, brunch, breakfast available to you ever. So there you go. That is my first episode of cheese making. Remember, this was 2 liters of milk, the best milk you can buy, full cream, 120 mils of white vinegar, a pinch of salt in the water. That's all you need. The 3 ingredients can make you your own personal little block of mozzarella. Join me in the next couple of days. I'm going to be making ricotta, and I'm also going to be making vegan cheese as well for our beautiful vegans. Do not throw out that whey, because the whey is actually the base of ricotta, which is cool too. Don't throw the whey away. Keep it. Think of Miss Muffet. She ate everything. You need to eat everything as well. So thank you for joining me today. And hi, we've got someone joining us. Sadaf is joining us all the way from Pakistan. Hope you are well, my darling. All right, thank you for joining me today. Join me again soon. We've got lots of cheese making coming up, plus lots of gorgeous things as well coming up on Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. Love you guys. Take care, be safe, and remember, keep calm and keep cooking. Take care.